Let's recap what you have learned about routing so far. I told you that in Next.js, we have a built-in router that is based on the file system. So here in the app folder, we can create folders that represent our URL segments like users/new. Now, to make a route publicly accessible, we have to put a special page file in that folder. Now, page file is one of the special files that Next.js router looks for. We have other special files that we'll talk about as we go through this section. For example, we have layout files for defining a common layout for our pages. We have loading files for showing loading UIs. We have route files for creating APIs. We have not found files for showing custom errors and error files for showing general custom error pages. Now, as I told you before, only this page file is publicly accessible. So if you put any other files like CSS files or JavaScript files in these folders, those files are not going to be exposed to the outside. For example, here in the users folder, let's add a CSS file like test.css. Now, if we try to access this file, look, we get a 404 error. So with this, we can co-locate our page files and other building blocks of our project. And this is very powerful. Let me show you. So back to our project. First, let's delete this file. We don't need it. Now, earlier, we built this page for showing a list of users. Now, as our application grows, perhaps this page is going to get overly complex. Then we may want to extract this table and put it into a separate component like user table. So back to our project. Here in the users folder, let's add a new file called user table.tsx. Now here we create a React component. Now back to our page. Let's grab this table and move it into our new component. Now here we need the list of users, but we don't necessarily need to pass it as props. We can fetch the users right here. So back to our page. Here's the logic for fetching users. Let's cut these two lines and move them into our new component. Now, first we need to make this component async. We should also bring the user interface. So let's move it from our page. Now, currently, this is the only place where we are using this interface. In the future, if we use this in multiple places, then we can move this into a separate file. For now, it's unnecessary, okay? So this is our user table component. No more errors here. Beautiful. Now back to our page. Here, right below our heading, we add a user table component, okay? Now, the interesting thing here is that I didn't dump this component into a general or centralized components folder, because with this approach, as our application grows, this components folder will turn into a big mess. But with the app folder or the app router in Next.js, we can co-locate our project files like our components and our pages. Currently, this component is only used on this page, so it makes more sense to put it inside the users folder. In the future, if we need to use this in multiple places, then we can move it into the general components folder, okay? So this was the basics of routing. Next, we're going to talk about creating dynamic routes.